direct from the web, it's Billy Masters Live. And now, please welcome your host, Billy Masters.
Okay, come on. Hey everyone, welcome to Billy Masters Live. I am, of course, who else would I be? Billy Masters. And thank you, Monica. Today is Thursday, June 16th, 2022. And, we were on the cusp about doing a show today because there were a lot of people who I've wanted to have on, and there's scheduling issues. We may have to do some pre-tape shows in the next 2 weeks, but, so we'll be kind of live-ish. Like The View says, an all-new view versus an all-new live view. So, we're not rechanging the name. It's Billy Masters Live, and if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. Anyway, our show today, we are looking back at the Tony Awards. Not only just the Tony Awards. We're looking back at the Broadway season, looking at the situation with COVID and going to the theater, where things are going, because my experts, they know where things are going. We have, and this is extraordinary, that first off, everyone on this show is award-winning. So I'm not going to say award-winning writer, award-winning producer, award-winning actress. They've all won awards. That's it. But they follow all aspects of show business. We have an award show writer. We have a critic. We have a producer and director. We have an actor. And, of course, we have me, who's, I don't know really what I've done. And this is so exciting for me. We have a virgin. We have a virgin to Billy Masters Live. Well, I haven't had a virgin since last Tuesday. So, I'm overdue. So, first, I am going to bring our virgin out, and I'm going to actually introduce her with a clip. I have clips today. I first saw Anastasia Barzee. Well, first off, I should also add, because I say this to her every time I see her, that Big Mama Masters, my mom's name is Anastasia. So immediately I clicked with her. But I saw her in Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles as a replacement, and she blew me away. Take a look.
My heart could see way into the future, all of that knows when I see your face. This is crazy. You know we should call it a day. Some advice, great advice. Let's throw it away. I can't control all the things I'm feeling. We're floating in midair. Let away our woes. Well, we're too much in love to care. Let away our woes. Well, we're too much in love to
Oh, God, I'm grinning from ear to ear, ladies and gentlemen. The fabulous Anastasia Barzee.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
God, does that bring back memories?
Yeah, I could practically feel Alan Campbell's tongue down my throat watching the end of that.
Oh, my God, I'm so
PTSD.
jealous of you. I'm so jealous of you.
Well,
One of the perks of the job, I guess.
yes. It
And
was
you had-
lovely.
You had replaced, was it Judy Kuhn?
Judy Kuhn, she got pregnant.
Well, good for her and good for you.
Yes, no, it was really nice. I was her understudy, and I had never had a chance to go on because Judy doesn't miss shows.
No,
And,
she does not.
She's a rock, and she got pregnant, and so then
Can I ask, I wasn't going to ask you this, but since you brought it up, did you do any of the Faye Dunaway rehearsals?
I did all of them.
Okay, everybody else sit back. We got a minute. How was it, Anastasia?
You know what? I like talking about this. So
Oh, good.
I
I do too.
It was not what you would think it was. She was, at this time at least, and in this position, maybe she was feeling extra vulnerable. She was incredibly nice, incredibly gracious, scared. She was very scared and fragile. She wore black turtleneck and white pants. No, white turtleneck and black pants every single day to rehearsal.
Uniform.
A uniform. And of course, we all were like, what does her closet look like? Is it just rows and rows of white turtlenecks and black pants, perfectly steamed by 17 different, immigrant women.
Minions, yes.
Yes, exact, tiny people. And she was very nice, though. She was great. And at one point we were doing the put-in, which was terrifying, I think, for her and for all of us, because we all kind of went, what's happening? She was losing her voice. And she came to me and she said, this hurts. What is this? And I'm like, your larynx? I said, think about putting your chin down when you sing. I mean, she could not have been sweeter and more gracious and more lovely, really.
And asking for help.
And the book scenes were unbelievably brilliant.
I bet. How was she on the staircase?
She was incredible at that last scene. And at that point I was Betty, so I wasn't in that scene anymore.
Right.
So I watched the wings. She was unbelievable. Like, you felt every hair on your arms and the back of your neck. She was unbelievable, but she really couldn't sing it. Mm-hmm. And I always say, well, whose fault is that?
Producers, obviously.
I mean? And we know enough, from being around for a million years that, people talk you into shit. Can I cuss?
You can do that, whatever you want.
People cuss you into fuck. They cuss you into. They talk you into doing something that maybe you're not ready to do. I've been talked into dancing, which I don't dance, and then I'm always terrified, and then I don't do as well. So right. I mean, I looked at Faye and I thought she was talked into this.
And also I think people should know, and I always, because I'm a musician as well, is that singing, if your pinky is tense, it's going to come out in the voice. So if you're nervous, you're working against yourself. Everything is over. Yes. And you're going to end up with laryngitis because you're going to push. I mean, she doesn't have that skill.
And she didn't have training.
Right, exactly. Did they change keys for her? Did it get better?
I don't remember. I think they changed one key, the I'm at home at last, whatever that big song is. Mm. I think they changed that, but I don't think they did a lot of changing of keys, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah. I worked with David Caddick right after that. And he was the musical supervisor for Sunset as well. And I asked him, I said, what happened? What was that? And he said, well, Andrew really had his heart set on her. Mm.
Well, didn't we all want to see it, really?
Oh, my God. When that was announced, it was when I signed my contract, because I replaced Judy, and then I signed a year contract to do it with Faye Dunaway and Rex. I always call him Rex Harrison by mistake. Rex Smith.
Yeah. He's been here, and he told us that she was lovely, and he had coached her as well. Yeah. And he also said that final dress rehearsal, where right afterwards everything went wrong, he got chills because it was at least acted phenomenally.
Oh, phenomenally. And this is the other thing that I think is interesting. Had she been the first one to do it and had established that character was not a singer as well as an actor, I think it would have been brilliant. But it
would have been tailored to her as well.
Yeah, but Patti LuPone sang the shit out of it. And then you had Glenn, who also sang it really well, differently, but really well, and made it her own. It was such an incredible actress in the part. So then to put someone in who was going to be more, Rex Harrison, who was going to speak it, didn't make sense. So anyway. It was unfortunate.
It's a lost opportunity. I keep hearing there's a tape of that dress rehearsal somewhere.
Yeah. I remember sitting in my room, and I was sitting with the sound, not the sound, and I guess he's like the sound tech, the guy who comes and puts your mics on, not the designer. And he's, you've got the speaker on, so you're sitting there and you're listening to all of it. And I was sitting there thinking, this isn't sounding good enough.
Yeah.
And I remember he looked at me and he said, have you saved some money? And I went, what do you mean? He said, because this isn't going to go. And I was like, what do you mean this isn't going to go? They're not going to replace her with one of the 25 women we've seen walking backstage over the last 2 months. You know, because Cher was there, Meryl Streep was there. All these different women were coming in and out and looking at costumes. And we all thought, Cher is here. Maybe she's going to do it, you know. That didn't happen. Anyway.
I just felt for the LA company because you guys were literally unemployed overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it happens on Broadway. It doesn't really happen in LA.
No. And I got told on a Thursday that we were closing Sunday.
And how do you plan your life? I mean, you had planned a year.
Yeah. But then thankfully, Vinnie Liff called me on Monday and said,
From Johnson Liff Casting.
Do you know the Ellen material? And I said, what is that? And he said, Ellen, Miss Saigon, do you know the Ellen material? I'm like, no. He says, okay, I'm faxing it to you. And then you could hear the fax machine going. And he sent all the pages and I auditioned and they cast me. So I thankfully went into a wonderful show that kept me employed for 3 years. So
fantastic.
I did okay.
Well, I am so glad you're here. Thank you for I had no anticipation of sharing that, but it hit me. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, that's so fantastic. All right, let me get everyone else out here. We also have esteemed critic, writer, prolific raconteur, Michael Musto is here. Hi, Michael.
I actually prefer award-winning.
Okay, sorry, award-winning. I already covered that. We're all award-winning.
And by the way, I saw the ultimate Sunset Boulevard. It was Ruth Buzzy at La Jolla, and she couldn't sing it or act it, but it was hilarious.
And there were lots of boas.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's Worley. That's Worley.
You're that's
Worley. I would have seen that.
You're a terrible gay person. You don't know Ruth Buzzy.
I know. I'm so sorry. And also we have producer, director, performer, all around maker of stars, Richard J. Alexander. Hey, Richard, what are you trying not to say something?
No. I switched rooms for lighting when I saw the good lighting Anastasia had. So I switched.
Well, you know, she's an actress.
I know.
And you know actresses in lighting.
Wait a minute, Michael, did you really see Ruth Buzzy in Sunset Boulevard? I never heard such a thing even existed. Is that true?
I remember seeing it. That doesn't mean it happened.
He may not have taken his pills that day. And last but not least, award show writer and also actor and scribe and puncher-upper of fabulous scripts, the fabulous Bruce Vilanch, otherwise known as Caitlin.
That was my original. Yes, I changed my name to Bruce from Caitlin.
Yes, well, and aren't you sorry?
I actually did Sunset Boulevard. My problem was I fell down the stairs in the opening number, and that was it. You know, that was it. They had to bring in Jane Hoden, and that was over after that.
Ironically, nobody noticed the difference.
Well, the dresser didn't.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going right into this in my John McLaughlin mode. Issue 1, Tony Awards, celebration of Broadway or super spreader? So we all were talking, all of us online, we were talking on Facebook about what we thought of the awards. You know, somebody's like, oh, Hugh Jackman looks tired. Oh, all of the chorus boys now have COVID. So I'm going to start with Bruce Vilanch because you know award shows better than anybody. What did you think of the show?
I thought it was well done. It was. I mean, it's every Tony show has the advantage of everybody who's on it. They have no teeth because they're having implants. So I'm giving you Walter Brennan in one of his 4 Oscar-winning performances.
I'm missing 2. It's fine. I'm getting the implants as well.
I gave up on Mask. Everybody on the Tonys is working, doing these things 8 times a week, and so they're at the top of their game. Plus, even the ones who aren't in a show are live performers. They're not movie actors. So they know what to do with themselves. So the show has an energy to it because you have all these people who are really working at top speed. Plus, the audience, unlike the Oscars or the Emmys or the Grammys, the audience is full of people who are really supporters of the craft and of the Broadway scene, and that energy transmutes, comes right through. So I thought it was a well done show. I thought that I thought Ariana was wonderful. She's a great host. there was a little bit too much of her. If they cut one of her audience bits, they wouldn't have run overtime, which on the Tonys is a big deal because the guy who has the CBS affiliate in Topeka doesn't really care who won the Tonys, but he does care that his 10 o'clock news follows him. And if you run over, that costs him a lot of money because that's a big revenue stream for him. So they could have cut a couple of things. And I also thought that everybody had a little bit too much to say. It was all lovely and poetic, and my friend Dave Boone wrote it, and I'm a big fan. But it was like, everybody was being given a lot, and it just kind of attenuated after a while. I mean, but these are all minor sorts of stuff. There isn't much you can do when you have Lin-Manuel Miranda deciding to do a song from Evita to the music from Aladdin. I don't know what that's about. There are a lot of acrobatic dancers, but they're being shot by Glenn Weiss, who doesn't seem to like feet a whole lot because he doesn't show the dancers, So the opening, those numbers are always kind of like, what the fuck? But the numbers from the shows were, it was weird that Music Man did their curtain call. I didn't quite get, except that they got a lot of people on stage, and you got to see Sutton and Hugh tap dance, which I suppose is like a surefire ticket seller. But
let me ask Anastasia to jump in because we started talking about how the show was shot.
Yeah, I'm always confused by the shooting of the dance numbers. I don't understand why they don't. If Glenn doesn't understand dance and how to shoot dance, then why wouldn't they bring in somebody who does, who could help him and say, you know what, actually the tight shots of here don't make any sense because there's really interesting stuff going on below their knees. And my husband is a dancer, was a dancer with Paul Taylor for 12 years and did Contact and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and stuff until he couldn't jump anymore. And he and I both are screaming at the TV every year at the Tonys, saying, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? No!" And pardon?
If I can answer that, if there's a disconnect between the TV people and the theater people, there didn't used to be when Walter Miller was directing it, and going back to the producers, Susan Stroman came into the truck during the rehearsal, and they blocked it together. And the choreographers were invited in for that reason. I don't believe that happens. I'm not there, so I can't be definitive. I don't believe that happens. I don't think you would see this kind of coverage if that was happening.
If I can interject there,
Richard?
I remember the year of Les Miserables. It was like, there's Trevor and John, and I said, and I went in the truck and I said, let me do this. Because they're having that eye and knowing the show so well and the television part of it. But that's why, Bruce, to your point, you have these phenomenal, A New Argentina, these things that are epic, the Dream Girls night, because Michael Bennett was in there, Hal Prince was in there. We were in there for Les Mis. And so I don't really know what goes on these days either, but just going back to the Music Man, I mean, honest to God, you have a big movie star. I love Hugh and I love Sutton. But to waste their airtime on the curtain call and not have
they don't even sing, really.
The scene on the bridge and blah, 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 and they're after him and I love you and something's got to happen. And so what we saw was, a lot of times the producers think we have to give them bang for their buck. That's what's going to sell tickets. What's selling the tickets here, clearly in the case of the Music Man, is it's two stars, not all the kids or the instruments or anything. And I would have loved to have seen the tension in the scene on the bridge going into, There Were Bells on a Hill. Birds in a Hill, whatever the word.
Till there was you.
Yes. But and so that was. But a lot of people go into decisions. The producers contribute, as you know, so they have something to say, and everybody's going for bang for your buck. Nobody could have ever anticipated what happened with what's the name of the musical? Where the black woman stopped the show.
Oh, Paradise.
That was so exciting to watch. That's the one show I have not seen this season. But if you look at what happened the next night, the place was crowded. She comes out.
And what a huge comeback for Garth Jabrinsky as well. I mean, it's extraordinary.
No, I don't know. I mean, that remains.
Excuse me so much, but that number was from the Jennifer Holliday Dreamgirls playbook.
That's
Oh,
And
exactly
the
course.
idea of doing
It's
it on
derivative.
the Tonys was to have the same impact that
That's
Jennifer
right.
Holliday's number had when
And
they
it's the
did
only
the
good
Dream
number
Girl.
in the show, Bruce. It's the only big song. But they started out again trying to crowd please with like Riverdance, you know, that opening
Well, first
part.
of all,
Oh, Michael,
Yeah.
let's get Michael Musto in
yes,
here. Michael,
she
go
has
ahead.
a name, and her name is Joaquina Kalukango
Yes,
Thank
from
you.
Paradise. I call it Paradise Garage, the musical. I'm an old disco queen. Paradise Square, and she was sensational. And what a wonderful night to celebrate
That's
convicted
exactly
felon.
right.
A wonderful night to celebrate convicted felon Garth Drabinsky, Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby enabler Felicia Rashad, and of course David Mamet, who said that teachers groom children for perverted sex. A beautiful, beautiful evening.
Wow.
It was a cavalcade of convicts.
I know.
What happened to cancel culture? Bring that back.
I wanted somebody to come out and say, Garth Drabinsky doesn't pay my salary.
Yeah.
I was
I wanted to
waiting
say-
for that.
Bruce, you must have read my Facebook page. But in all seriousness, first of all, I thought Ariana
Always
was
read your
good.
Facebook page.
I thought she hit. You always read my Facebook page. I'm not accusing you of plagiarism. Yes, I am.
Oh.
I thought she did great. You're right.
No, I wasn't going to say she did great. I was going to say she hit her marks and was professional and very enthusiastic. What she lacked to me was a unique star quality. And I know she was great in West Side Story. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying as a host, I prefer a sardonic, sarcastic, witty Neil Patrick Harris or whatever. There are plenty of people of color that could have done the job. She didn't embarrass herself. That's fine. And overall, the queer and Black presence of the evening was incredible. But I was amazed that they tried so hard to be cutting edge. But the things that stole the show were like Lawrence Fishburne doing a Daffy Duck impression, or Billy
But it
Crystal
was
doing
good.
a Yiddish rap.
They could have cut that one for me, and they wouldn't have gone over, and Topeka would have been happy.
And we care about Topeka.
Well, somebody does.
Topeka pays my
Topekans.
salary.
I thought
And
Miles.
everybody who was on the
Working at
Tony.
Chuck E. Cheese. Do you work at a Chuck E. Cheese?
Hold on. Richard, go ahead.
I thought Miles's speech was quite compelling, talking to his mom and taking on his
Absolutely.
dad on
And his
national
dad,
television.
yeah.
There was a lot of heartfelt stuff that really broke through, and those are the moments that really make it, not the big snazzy, razzle-dazzly speeches. I thought that
always are.
Todd was very low key.
What's interesting about the Tonys this year is because less than 4 million people watched it.
But
At
it was
its
up
height.
from last year.
From last year, but
the
down
lowest rated in history.
pandemic.
But
Of
this
course,
show was up
it
from
lower
last
than
year.
If it was lower than last year, it would be off the air. But
Yeah.
now, at its height in recent years, 8 million people was a big deal. So the question is, how much of a boost does a number like that give you at the box office? This is yet to be determined. But in the next few weeks, we will see as advances begin rolling in. Of people watching the show and bought tickets. I predict it will have less of an effect on Broadway than it usually or normally does, and
Perhaps.
that will ripple down through the community.
But I think what's happening, you
Go
guys,
ahead,
I think what's
Richard.
happening is, even given the numbers stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm absolutely correct on this. I have a lot of friends that still aren't willing to go back to the theater. They're still scared, and the mask wearing and all that. So there are less theater goers. I think this year, because a lot of people hadn't seen a lot, or they're not interested vocationally the way Michael is, because he wasn't able to go to a lot of stuff. But I think they just didn't care. There was nothing at stake. There was nothing to fight for, root for. And even in the regions, coming from Miami, being, going to theater all over the country, there's less people. They're still scared to go to the theater. They don't think it's all right.
Well, Michael, let me have you speak to that. You and I had talked earlier, and you had said to me that unlike most years where you see everything, you weren't able to see everything this year. How did you feel about going to the theater, and what was your experience when you did?
I couldn't go, and let me explain. I'm quadruple vaccinated. My arm is like a piece of fucking cheesecloth. But I have a problem where if I wear a tight mask for a long period of time, I will start seizuring. And I already have strokes watching these horrible shows. I don't want to also seizure. I think it would be a distraction. So the only things I saw were Six, which is the Six Wives of Henry VIII, as Ariana Grande. And then I saw The Girl from the North Country, and that was pre-lockdown. And I liked them both a lot. By the way, the only person who didn't get COVID on Tony night was Phantom of the Opera. Think about it.
Anastasia, I saw you nodding vigorously when Richard
Yeah.
said some people are not yet going to the theater or completely
They're not
comfortable. What are
comfortable.
your feelings as a theater goer and as a performer?
Well, I usually go and see everything. I'm in Los Angeles. We moved to Los Angeles right when COVID hit. But I was back in New York working 2 different times, once for 2 months, and then again working I was there for about almost a full month. And in any other time, I would have used any of my days off to go and see everything that's running. But I was terrified because I have 4 shots. And I wear my mask everywhere, but I was, you're working on a set and you're getting tested every other day. And if I test positive because I went and saw a company, I'm going to fuck up the whole
Shut down the whole production.
I didn't see anything. I didn't
And
see
you don't want to be yelled at by Patti LuPone.
No, you don't. No, I really didn't see anything. I saw a strange loop before it moved. So I'm totally out of the loop, and it's heartbreaking, but I'm like, well, actually I'm going back in a month and I'm going to go see stuff because now I'm going back for pleasure, not for work. So I won't be getting tested every other day and my job won't be dependent on it.
Then you're only putting your kids at risk, and you can always get other kids. It's fine. Did anybody watch, because I did, the first hour on Paramount Plus?
Yes.
Okay, what were thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, they did a lot of the technical awards because they don't want the masses watching the big CBS telecast to have to be bothered with, best lighting in a musical. I don't think it's fair, but whatever. I could manage to spend 4 hours instead of 3 hours with this endless Tony Award evening.
What about the show itself?
I thought just as Ariana's opening number was purely rotten, and I blame the 6 composers who wrote it. They compiled every snippet of every Tony Award-winning musical in history. So it was like, "Don't cry for me, a boy like that." Memory. It's like, shut up. And Ariana sang it while gays were spinning her in the air. I mean, it was impressive but pointless. Similarly, Darren Criss and Julianne Hough, who hosted the pre-show, had a rotten opening number that I think was written by Darren Criss.
Darren wrote, yeah.
Okay, can I just bring... They did the Angela Lansbury tribute in the first hour, and people said to me, "Why didn't they put it in the main hour?" Well, she didn't show, and she's not even in condition. She's 96. She didn't even do a video. So why would they put the gay men's chorus singing MAME in the main telecast?
I want to just say, and I'm not going to point fingers, but I have heard through people, and this could be completely wrong, so feel free to correct me.
Repeat it anyway.
I'm going to, exactly, because, it's what I do. I was told that a number that was performed, I'm not going to specify which telecast or what number, one of the numbers was lip-synced, at least partially. Is that a possibility? And is it unprecedented in a Tony Awards that's celebrating live theater? Bruce?
I don't know. I heard that Ariana lip synced the opening number, but I don't know. Well, I mean, and I wasn't. Was she holding a mic? I don't remember. I guess so. I honestly don't know. I mean,
and let me just say that is not the number that I was talking about. So there might be 2.
You're actually talking about Diana Ross on the Queen's Jubilee, but in any case,
that one was lip synced.
Billy, Best Actress in a Drama at the Tonys was Deidre O'Connell, who lip synced in Dana H. The entire show.
The whole performance.
She's next going on to Drag Race, I hear.
She could be replaced by Lip Synca.
The Tonys are a celebration of
Lip Synca did it first.
But it's not unprecedented, Billy. A lot of Broadway casts have gone in and pre-taped their thing.
They have?
Just
okay,
as backup in case sound issues. This is traditional through the years. You go in and you do your track. And, it depends what kind of number it is, how heavy the dance is, the tap clicks, the type of floor. Right, Bruce?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but they pre-record everything just so they have it.
Yeah, I would like to get into the who did well. The ticket selling issue came up. And I'm going to tell you the thing that surprised me the most of the night is, people feel very differently about Company, this new production of Company, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Stephen Sondheim passing, and you have the documentary coming out, on PBS and everything. And it was a confluence of events. But I thought Company did really, really well. And my hat goes off to Katrina, who did not get nominated and showed up and performed, and you got the camaraderie, the company of that number, no pun intended. And I thought that it was really ticket selly, like so much so that I even want to go back and reevaluate it myself.
Anybody else have a thought about a show that did well?
I thought Mr. Saturday Night looked hysterical.
Yeah, he was great.
I thought that
Yeah, I mean, I think fans of Billy who were unaware of the show will be interested in seeing it.
Oh God, it was hysterical.
And I think a lot of them are unaware of it because the marketing has not been through the roof on that show.
Right, and there's another piece
did very well
with a group of people and then closed in on Billy. Like they try to get everything in rather than focusing. Like I remember when I was young and I wanted to go into theater. I'll never forget watching Lauren Bacall leaning on the side of the theater going, "Welcome to the theater," just alone. You know what I mean? And just my heart was racing, like the glamour, like I just wanted to go to Broadway. And I just wish it would get back to the focus of Broadway and forget the movies. Like let it be the night of theater people and stop with all the, the billing and the, including everybody. And the other thing that's sort of interesting is that J HUD gets to be an EGOT. By a producing.
A technical EGOT, like a technical virgin.
It's such horseshit. The EGOT is such horseshit.
Yeah, I know, of course.
If an actress gets 4 awards for acting,
yes,
that's impressive.
Right,
that's what I'm
saying. 4
saying.
Different medium, but because she dropped some money and made herself a Broadway producer. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
they win a Grammy for spoken word.
Well, I always like when Rita Moreno would always specify an EGOT in performance. I always took it as to exclude Streisand, I'm sorry, Richard, for getting that honorary bullshit award that nobody ever heard of since or before.
The decade.
But I also I also don't like when they were in EGOT because they did a show on Broadway, they won the Tony, then they won the Grammy for the cast album, then they did a number. They did a number on Good Morning America, so
on
they won
TV.
the Emmy. Come on.
It's like, did you see Facebook and all the producers who won Tonys?
And
let me get this straight. You contributed money. You did not win this.
By the way, I think Rita invented it for that tooth decay commercial that she had. Rita Moreno, winner of an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. I think she invented it.
And it
was a good thing to cash in on.
Can we get rid of all the producers coming to the stage? And then there's limited time. I didn't hear enough from Michael R. Jackson, not the child molester, the guy who wrote Strange Loop. The
guy who my friend said, I thought Andre Leon Talley was dead.
Oh.
He's doing an impression of Andre Leon Talley?
I'm not touching that.
Well, I said that guy in a cape, so I understand.
Which are words that the other Michael Jackson never said. But this Michael Jackson should have had more of a spotlight. It won Best Musical. It looked shaky. Wait a minute. Six was winning. MJ was winning. Everything British was winning, because if you're British, you're good, right? And I also think it hurt the ratings of something like the Lehman Trilogy.
A lot of
Lehman Trilogy have such a limited... I don't want to overtalk. Sorry.
Hold on. Michael, finish your thought, Michael?
No. Lehman Trilogy was obviously the event to esteem of the season, and it won Best Play, Director, Actor, Lighting. But it was a limited run, which I never understood. And that's another reason why people in the heartland don't care about the Tonys. These shows aren't even running. Felicia Rashad won for a show that closed. Paradise.
Richard, what were you going to say?
No, nothing. I was just saying a lot of Brits won awards. I'm running the whole thing in my mind because I never planned on talking about it, but I'm going back to the dance thing. But Smooth Criminal looked good.
No, of course.
That sold tickets for sure. MJ.
I think I to address Michael's point while you were talking about this.
Yeah.
That so many of the people who aren't in New York don't know what these things are. What struck me as being wild was that Strange Loop beat Six for the Best Musical. Six is a show that will sell itself all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Strange Loop needs a Tony when it goes to play Cleveland to get people to at least think, well, it won a Tony. Maybe it's worth looking at. I was amazed because generally the road people outvote the local people. And that's why. And every now and again, there's an Avenue Q beating Wicked. But I thought this was a strange year. It was a strange loop.
The Pulitzer Prize played a part in that, don't you think, Bruce? The Pulitzer Prize win played a part in that voting.
I don't know. Really?
I just think in Topeka they're going to love the production number about rimming.
I mean, exactly. They're just going to go crazy. And the Tyler Perry stuff will really hit home. By the way, if you see a strange loop, it's a drinking game. Every time they say Tyler Perry, bring your flask and have a drink. It will fly by.
Or Andre Leontelli.
If you bring him, it'll really fly by.
I'm going to go to our next topic, which is it was just announced yesterday that Beanie and Jane Lynch will be leaving Funny Girl in September. And they've gone to great lengths.
Going into a strange loop.
Possibly in the same role. I believe they keep saying that Jane Lynch was always planning on leaving then, while Beanie's is a surprise. And was she jettisoned? And I don't believe that's true. I always heard that Beanie was planning on leaving in September. That's all her contract was for. Does anyone have any information? And what do you think about it?
I'm not sure about her contract, but I don't think anyone, including her father, who's the producer, is begging her to stay longer.
Oh my God!
I like her. I love her in movies. I think she's delightful, and I didn't see Funny Girl, but the reviews were not kind, and she didn't get nominated. The only nomination it got was for the tap dancer and featured actor.
Yeah,
I think if she had been
she has a new study named Julie Benko, who people seem to adore. Who's more?
Yeah, we'll talk about her in a second. Yeah.
I think if she had been nominated and been part of awards season, you might be looking at a different equation, but I don't think she sought playing out.
I think they got enough money out of it to pay off their friends who invested.
Yeah.
What I love about this whole thing is that
they don't owe anybody anything anymore, and they can merrily go down the road without her. And I think that they said, okay, if you want, since it's a family production, apparently.
I think they'll put Julie Benko in the part. I really do.
Yeah, I want to see her too, Anastasia.
I saw on Facebook just this morning, somebody said the cast of Funny Girl has been told that Leah Michele is replacing.
Is that serious?
I refuse to believe that, but that's a possibility.
And then of course everyone was saying, oh, that's why they did the Spring Awakening thing, so that she would have all this airtime and people would get excited about her again. But she would be even worse than Beanie. She would be even worse than Beanie.
It would be amazing
I agree,
if the two things were related. It would be the kind of thing that only keyboard warfare could come up with.
Or Anastasia Barzee. It's fine.
But if it's on Facebook and everything is real that's on Facebook.
They said that the cast was told that? They really said that? The cast was told?
I saw
that's what someone on Facebook said.
I'm going to find it for you because I do.
Facebook scientist.
Yeah, so I had said the minute that Beanie was cast, even before the reviews came out, I knew the big guessing game would be, if the show survived Beanie, who would be the next Fanny? Does anyone have suggestions?
Listen, and before that, remember who was supposed to be Fanny before her? Remember the one that went into My Fair Lady from 6 Feet Under?
What's her name?
Lauren Remember way back when?
That was when it was Art Shear, though, right?
That was what?
Yes, exactly.
Billy, let me just say one thing.
And then let me just
that production fell apart. It was
right. Thank God,
and they couldn't raise the money.
Thank God for Laura Benanti to save that My Fair Lady production after Lauren Ambrose. No offense, but Laura Benanti was sublime in the role. Richard, what were you going to say?
Nothing.
Can I say something?
Topic, the whole Funny Girl, it's all too deep for me.
Oh, it just occurred to me that this is really right up your alley, isn't it?
Way too much to discuss. It's just way too
much.
Is it true, Richard, that Barbara did send Beanie a note and flowers or something for her opening?
Yes, she did. Actually, for her first preview, and she also sent Ramin a note. Interestingly enough, when we played London in the park, that summer festival, Ramin sang with her, yeah. And he didn't really even know Funny Girl. I mean, they sang Phantom in the park, but it's just a interesting confluence of events. He's great. I adore him. I think he's a great guy.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never seen a production of Funny Girl where they're waiting for Nikki to sing.
That's true. But I'd never seen a production of Funny Girl. Had you, Bruce? I'd never seen.
I was in Funny Girl with Shari Lewis. As Fanny, did you know Fanny?
And Ruth Buzzy.
John Kenley Players, right?
The what?
John Kenley Players?
That lovely couple, John Kenley. Yes.
And Nikki Arnstein was.
I just saw an ad for it today. Somebody ran the whole.
Rosa with Nikki and Marcy
Funny Girl. You were in it?
And
what did you play?
Nikki
I was Eddie Ryan back then. I was dancing. I was in college in Columbus, Ohio.
All right, we're all stepping.
Can I-
We're all stepping on Michael Musto's joke.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Nikki Arnstein was played by Lamb Chop. Anyway, I
And
want to
can
say
I
something
just say,
serious about Funny Girl. Okay.
I just want to add before you get to that, I have seen Funny Girl a couple of times, but the most memorable was the Pia Zadora, Adrian Zmed, and what's her name?
Kay Ballard.
Mama Rose. Kay Ballard, thank you. And
Where?
down
Long
Long
Beach.
Beach. Long Beach.
The Barry
And
Brown production. We called it Pia Zadora in Girl.
Right. And then it became Okay Girl and then Fun Girl.
Okay
but the
Girl.
last show, she was
my
pretty funny.
God.
Anyway, Musto, go.
It was okay.
All through the years, it wasn't just Lauren Ambrose. There were many proposed or announced productions.
Yes.
It was going to be Sandra Bernhardt. Jules Stein decided she didn't really have the vocal chops. It was going to be Taylor Dane.
Taylor Dane.
Decided she didn't have the comedy and dramatic chops. It was, as you say, Lauren Ambrose. The investors pulled out. What we learned from Beanie Feldstein, it doesn't matter who plays Fanny. It could be Kay Ballard at this point. The show sells itself. They could have done it with all
Or not.
No, it does.
It does.
It's
It
got
does.
hard.
Have you seen it?
It's doing.
I was there in an audience full of women, of girls who grew up watching Funny Girl. They knew it by heart, and they were all. It was like the Hairspray audience. They were teenage and young women. They were there in huge groups, drinking like crazy, and they knew Beanie. They know Beanie from her movies and from her television stuff, and so it was a combination of that. That they already knew the show. They cheered and screamed when she came out, and they could recite the thing along with her.
Wow.
The show sells itself, and I predict they're going to go with Julie Benko and make her a star.
Really?
She's a proven entity. People love her in the part. She's
Yeah.
more of a
Well, that's what they
traditional
said.
Fanny. It won't be the same box office as Beanie, but it will still be money making.
Richard, what do you think?
I'm going to bet that it's a name.
I think so too. I hate to say it.
I don't think they can.
Could it be, Richard, will it be your good friend Leah Michelle?
It's, that's what the rumors are. And,
It's on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Again,
And I just got a
Anastasia.
text that Faye Dunaway.
I must say this. I must say that I heard this a long time
I'm
ago
doing Funny Lady now.
because she relocated to the East Coast, all this idea of reinvention, all of this, the HBO doc, the whole thing. And then her
She
appearance-
offered to carry Jonathan Groff's baby.
Yes, that's very important to the story. But it's interesting, just like the hearing about Sunset Boulevard. I honestly believe what happened there because I was at the peak of the Macintosh years during that. Even though
Right.
Sunset Boulevard is that I think Andrew, if you've ever met Andrew and you understand his impetuosity and his what makes him operate. I think when he saw what happened with Glenn Close in LA, that he thought a movie star was the answer. That's when Patty got fucked over in London, the famous $1 million settlement, all of that, or however much it was. And then it didn't, at the time, I don't even think they investigated her singing. I honestly believe that she was not investigated vocally. And so, because I remember, the way I remember it, Anastasia, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the investors felt that Andrew had not protected their investment, was taking Glenn to Broadway, and that this was going to die a horrifying death. So he piggybacked those investors onto Broadway to not be sued. That's my recollection of that story at the time, but no one had investigated her vocally. And he just thought a movie star could do it because certainly Glenn Close did not sing the way Patti LuPone did. There was a negotiation there. And I felt that Andrew just thought Faye Dunaway, in Sunset Boulevard makes perfect sense. And I really think that's what happened. I think they ran away with the candy store.
And interestingly enough,
from what I know, you're absolutely right. They were going to lose a lot of money. And if Faye was brilliant and got brilliant reviews, they were going to lose a lot of money until the box office came back. They had no advance with Faye.
That's right.
And it was going to cost them a fortune. They had run at capacity in LA for 6 months. The audience was there to see Glenn Close and Sunset Boulevard. They had to reinvent the event of seeing Faye Dunaway. And they weren't going to, LA audiences aren't like that. And the tourists don't come here. They go to Disneyland. They don't go to the theater.
Movie star,
years ago, of course. But and I think that they made an economic decision, and they wound up selling the Los Angeles set to Canada, to Garth Grabinski, I think, to do it up there.
Diane Carroll and Rex Smith. Yeah.
And and so forth. And so, of course, Faye was the big loser in the thing.
Yeah, she wasn't.
Yeah, and Anastasia, you were there in the middle of all of this. Were you guys aware what was going on, or was it really a surprise to you?
We knew about the money. We knew that there was no advance. We knew that I was told, about signing for the year and everything. They were like, this is going to be a big event. There's going to be so much press. It's going to be Faye Dunaway. You're going to be part of this trio. It's going to be amazing. There was all of that.
Good on paper. It sounds good on paper.
Oh, it sounded great on paper. My managers were so excited. And I was excited. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be better than going to New York with it, which I didn't have the opportunity to do. That was Alice.
Was it Alice? Yeah.
Alice did it. They were like, you're staying in LA. You're going to be part of this big event, the whole thing. The singing part, Richard, I heard a story from David Caddick that...
I didn't want to name his name, but yes, I know the story. Yes, but go ahead, tell everybody.
Well, the story, and tell me if I'm wrong, because it's been a lot of years. He said that there was a dinner where Faye met with Andrew, and whoever Faye's husband is, or her boyfriend, I don't know, he's a singer, guitar player guy, or he plays guitar and sings a little.
It was
Peter Wolf, I think.
Jay Giles, right?
Okay, Jay Giles, huge person. Okay, so I don't remember all of it, but that there was a conversation about her doing it, and he was there also, and apparently Faye sang a little bit with him while he played guitar, and that was when Andrew's like, "Oh yeah, you're going to do this," but. Huge difference between being able to sing a little bit of a folk tune with a guitar at a dinner party versus, I've come home.
Well, I know just from her that she went to Marge Robin, who was a big vocal coach and worked a lot with Marge, but she was also shooting Don Juan DeMarco. And so she was working, and she didn't really have the time to put together, to really go into training isolation, like a fighter. Which is what she really should have been able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that people who haven't done Broadway don't understand Broadway performers basically have to focus their entire lives to those 3 hours at the theater. It's incredible. But getting back to the point of where theater is going, do you think that people now, did the Tonys act as an ambassador to get people back to the theater? Did it accomplish that at all? Michael, you've been kind of away. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think it is a good commercial for Broadway. I didn't even mind the Music Man curtain call number because it did show off a lot of costumes and a lot of razzle dazzle, and they don't need the help. They're doing over 3 million every week. But what I like about the Tonys is something I don't care about for Broadway, which is Broadway now represents two divergent sort of non-parallel threads. One is avant-garde, strange loop, type of shows. Wheaties Town, Band's Visit, Dear Evan Hansen, Hamilton. The other half is Vegas. It's MJ and it's Tina Turner telling her life story by an impersonator, and it's the Temptations. I understand the need for both, but I like the old days when it was just Geraldine Page doing some show. It might have run 3 nights and they didn't care. There was no concern about our entire fortunes are resting on this one play. It was just Geraldine Page doing what she did with Sandy Dennis and Julie Harris. Yeah. And now there's so much resting on every show financially that they have to pre-vet it. It has to be a Pulitzer winner. It has to have scored in London or off Broadway. It has to be a known pop idol that the baby boomers are going to shell out money to see. And that safeness, I think, has killed Broadway.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm in Boston right now, and we have the ART doing another Diane Paulus production, and now they're doing 1776 with a multiracial female cast doing all the roles, if I understand correctly. I haven't gone yet. I was invited.
You do.
I'll get there eventually. It doesn't excite me. The show doesn't excite me. The concept doesn't excite me. And I feel kind of what Michael's saying is that I've seen this, it's like, so it's Hamilton with women,
Wait till the Neil Diamond show opens. That's also a block.
But he's so beautiful.
I think one of the big takeaways of the night was, we're all artists, so inclusion has never really been an issue for us. But I think it's the conversation now. And just in relating to that, I think all the young Black and Asian and mixed and Latino and everybody who have a dream of Broadway. I remember when I was 17 years old, I saw Danny Fortis singing from Minnie's Boys on The Tonight Show.
Sure.
And I said to my mother, Mom, he's as old as I am and he's on Broadway. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. And so, you know, there's two ways to look at this. One is the messaging to the world, which is fantastic. The other one is there's so much conversation. Sometimes it's upstaging the work. That makes me a little bit nervous. So everything's like just so topsy-turvy, you know, that I'm not sure it's serving all the particular works we're seeing. I saw a show that shall go unnamed. I saw lots of inclusion, but I didn't see the show. And so that's a little problematic to me. But I think inclusion was a big, big deal Sunday night. And I think a lot of people were really, really happy about that. And a lot of kids sitting in living rooms. And that speaks to me. It really speaks to me.
You know, except, you know, I buy everything you just said, except that the world has changed so much since when you were a kid and I was a kid, that these kids are seeing themselves on YouTube and on TikTok. And I don't know if the Tonys have the impact that we think they once had. Anastasia, you must have been a kid watching the Tonys at home. Did it impact you? Did it drive you to think, oh my God, I could be there?
I'm not the right person to ask because I actually didn't. I didn't grow up watching the Tonys. I think the first time I watched the Tonys was with Charles Nelson Riley, when I was in my 20s, and I had been an apprentice at Burt Reynolds' Jupiter Theater.
What was he doing on the
Tonys? We're jealous. We're jealous of you right now.
No, it was at his house.
It was a viewing party.
It was a viewing party at his house here in LA,
all right.
on Glowing Way,
And you knew you were safe.
And my mother was in town, and he invited my mother, and we sat and we watched the Tonys. I think that was the first time I ever watched them. So I'm not the right person. I didn't grow up going, I want to do that. I was.
But you have been a performer. Do you feel that when you look at this, do you think, wow, they're representing my Broadway to people in the world to come and buy tickets or participate?
I think when the numbers are good, yeah, but I think otherwise, no. I mean, honestly, when it's really good, yeah, you get excited about it. And you go, oh my God, that looks like so much fun. But I think a lot of the numbers and the way they were shot and the choices, and you said about Music Man, why they did that curtain call, I don't understand. But you can just not so much Music Man, but Mr. Saturday Night, where they had to bring in everybody and they stood there in the line, and then you got to see Billy Crystal do his thing. You can hear, I could hear the producers in the room at Serena Coyne or wherever saying, well, we don't want it to look like a one-man show, so make sure you have everybody out there. I just think there's a disservice with that. I was involved with Grey Gardens as a producer. And I remember those conversations. There were conversations about, do we want her to do the I can't even remember the name of it.
Revolutionary costume.
Do we want her to do that, or is it going to look like a cabaret act? And I was like, what? Of course. And I think we did like a mashup of that, and I like my corn, whatever that one was.
Yeah, the first. Yeah.
Jerry likes my corn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we did that because nobody could kind of agree that actually standing alone was brilliant, and that's all you needed. I don't know.
What did everybody think of the playwrights talking about their plays?
I hated that. The one word.
I love that. I love that. That's a clever way to do it.
I would say A for effort, and they're always trying to occasionally come up with some way to feature the straight plays. So it's not just, and they had sound bites on different topics from the playwrights. It didn't work at all, but I love when Tracy Letts mentioned the rise of fascism, because as we're applauding screechy production numbers, I think it's important to mention the rise of fascism.
And what did you guys think of the fact that they didn't mention anything, unless I missed it, about the first hour in the second 3 hours, like earlier this evening?
No,
they didn't do any of that.
But they brought on Derek and Julianne to present an award.
Yeah,
right. But they didn't say earlier in the evening we did
yes,
this.
They did.
They did.
Oh, they didn't recap the awards they gave earlier in the evening.
That's what I mean. One for lighting,
yeah.
and also
well, then go and get Paramount Plus. That was
like
the
54
point.
below, and all those extra awards. Like we didn't even hear anything about it.
Oh, those they didn't even present on the early show.
That's correct. You're correct.
But when they came out again on the show, I was like, oh no, they're going to do that song again. Oh, but they didn't.
How could that be fixed, Bruce?
But Billy, let me just say one thing about the inclusion of this season. After Broadway was asleep, it suddenly woke up very woke. And when all these Black plays started coming, how many original plays were by Black playwrights? A lot. You realize, it's like the end of Baby Jane. All this time we could have been friends. All this time you could have been producing Black plays, and now under pressure you decided maybe you should. What the hell took you so long?
Yeah. Well, but
the fact that Black audiences don't come to the theater much unless there's Denzel Washington starring in the show. I mean,
a Black show.
When you look at the track record of those plays on Broadway, I mean, August Wilson's a great writer, but his shows have not, unless there were stars in them, they were not successes. So, it's it's a business. Based on that, that's why they weren't presented. Obviously, now everything is woke, and they have the impetus to do it. So I can't really pimp slap them too much for not doing it before, because it's a commercial venue.
Right, but first of all, I'm gay, but I've seen many plays about straight people. I don't say I'm only going to a show about white people who are gay. Secondly, I don't know where I was going.
Mikey, you look at the numbers. Who goes to see the plays?
But also, they don't do outreach. Broadway's never done outreach. Let's try to get black people to come. If you do reach out, they come.
Michael, that's it right there. During the pandemic, I was so pissed off at whatever the organizational forces were. So I'm reading, like everybody, more Black writers, more Black directors than ever in history. But they didn't have a fucking chance because nobody built anything. So you're talking to the guy who all those Macintosh years, when we had that winter sale, for example, you do it in the summer when nobody's thinking about bad weather, and you sell all the tickets for $35. Orchestra, you make your nut, and you protect your show for January, February, March, and you're not in trouble and worry about TKTS. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if all the producers and all the theater owners and everybody got together, because they kept saying we're in it together, but we weren't in it together. And I was getting madder by the minute. But if the theater owners didn't charge rent, if they cut all the costs and all the tickets for the first 5 weeks, because Broadway was rolled out. Don't forget, it didn't all come together at once. For those first 5 weeks, all the tickets are one price, right?
Yeah, but can I just
go to stuff, and then word of mouth can help.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you because Bruce Vilanch, we had a show that we did with Michael Riedel, and Michael had said this same thing during the pandemic, that he hoped that when Broadway came back, it would reset prices, that there would be incentives
to take
to bring
the money
back.
They were given and underwrite these starting shows.
Yeah, but the thing, and Michael had also said this is also going to bring in more plays because they're cheaper to produce. And I said, that all sounds great, but it's never going to happen. And,
because they don't have their shit together. But listen, how is it that Waitress was closed? It was closed before the pandemic, and they got their $10 million, and then reopened. I'm so happy for Sarah Bareilles and everybody, and then they film it. It's I don't know.
It wasn't on hiatus; it was actually closed.
It was actually gone, and they got the $10 million. They applied for it, and blah blah blah. I don't begrudge anybody that part. Let me be very, very clear. But the point is, what were the parameters of this for keeping Broadway alive? So it was an experiment. The show could come back and try to see if it could get an audience because they got $10 million free dollars. That's what was pissing me off, and it could have helped so many of these new young things find an audience. That's what pissed me off.
Speaking of that, I felt most for the performers because a writer can write. Who is that? Is that you, Bruce?
That's my escort.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I hate to interrupt.
Your escort to the hospital?
I know.
That's exactly where they're taking me.
Lauren Bobart.
Oh, it's not yours. Anastasia, performers were the ones who I felt suffered the most in terms economically, because writers could still write and producers could still be planning, but actors were just sitting around. Like, what do they do? How did that affect you? Because you're also diversified. You do other things, I realize.
But those other things weren't happening either. There was, I was on a Netflix show called The Society, and I did the pilot, and then there were, we were supposed to come back, and the whole thing fell apart, because they kept rescheduling. And by the time, they had figured out what to do, everybody had other things going on. So I lost that job. We were supposed to do Mr. Holland's Opus. There's a musical version that B.D. Wong and Parker, and we were scheduled to do that in the summer, I guess last summer. and that got canceled. So, I mean, everything was getting canceled one by one. You'd be like, oh God, well, maybe by August, maybe by the fall. And, then we all saw, okay, nothing's happening. So we're supposed to do it this summer. So we'll see. It's still.
Yeah, I think it's been.
Yeah, no, everything was dead. It was weird. It was very strange. You just kind of sat around waiting and wondering and reading the news. It was bizarre.
So where do we think things are going? Bruce, you and I have talked. You've been involved in working on shows that are hopefully going to see the light of day. Do you have conversations with people about, we're feeling very hopeful making plans 6 months out or a year out, or are they still cautious?
I think that they're proceeding forward. I mean, in a lot of the country, it's not like New York, where people don't go to the theater masked. I've written a musical. We did a stage reading in Sarasota, Florida. People who wanted to wear masks were masked, but they're planning their seasons. They're going ahead, and they're just optimistic and hoping that the new normal will be. There will be waves of this. There will be vaccines, or whatever there will be. But you can't just say, "Okay, I quit." So they're proceeding forward, and what the Democrats did with the PPP was include grants for arts organizations because revenue streams dried up. And this was to keep the payrolls going, literally payroll protection program. And as part of the grant, you had to develop new work. So there is a whole bunch of new work out there that was paid for by theaters that got the grants from the government. So there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline if audiences come back. And I mean, they seem to be coming back. I mean, I know it's not. New York is different from the rest of the world, obviously, but they're there. I mean, if you give them something that they're interested in, they're there. And I think that in the regional world, the subscription platform may change because subscribers may not want to make that year-long commitment that they made in the past because they're not sure where they'll be in 3 or 4 months. But that hasn't shaken out yet. That, as they say at Forest Lawn, remains to be seen.
Richard, you're always working on 17 million projects at a time. So while the pandemic was going on, things were shut down. Were you planning things and just shifting target dates? How did that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget it was supposed to be 6 weeks and all of that,
Yeah,
but then all the online stuff started, and that actually became a headache. I think all of you can agree on that.
Thank you.
You'd be like, oh my God, do I have time to take a nap? That's at 4. This is at 1:30. That got to be maddening. Then you add the cocktail parties, the benefits, the appearances, the bad, technical of some things, and you did the best you could. In hindsight, I think we all did a pretty good job of survival. The amazing thing is everybody was so hungry to get back, and then they got back and things got problematic very quickly. Theater's never going to die. Bruce and I and Michael, we've been around long enough that, the fabulous invalid or whatever they call it, the live arts are still the most electrifying thing on the planet. And I remember the first job I did live in a room where I heard sound swirling because, you can blast your stereo speakers as loud as you want. But when the droplets are moving and a singer is singing, I got so overwhelmed by Deborah Cox in Florida at the Arts Center that I'd lost my shit. I just started sobbing because I remember vividly because I hadn't heard anything live or musicians or the vibrations in so long. So, now you go to Broadway and it's like a crying fest. You have to get past the overture and you have that feeling, I'm still that 10-year-old kid. That will never go away. That's how I know theater is going to survive. But yeah, it's been an adjustment, you know what I mean? And I don't even want to work that much anymore, and I'm sort of in the star business now,
Right.
But, when you have a love for it, like Bruce, I'll never forget going to see you in Hairspray. If you had opened that show, you'd have a Tony. I told you that night, you know what I mean? It's just, timing, circumstance. Anastasia, you look so gorgeous. I've worked with you. Michael, I've known you forever. I'm such a fan of your writing. It's we're still here, you know what I mean? And we're still trying to contribute and be vital and all of that. But, we've also built an enormous family. That's what really came forward during the pandemic. Some people used the pandemic to destroy themselves. and other people, you know, got pretty strong. And so it's been interesting to come out of this on the other side. And there's a lot of shit wrong, believe me. You know, I could snap some necks some particular days in terms of leadership of the industry that I love and have devoted 47 years of my life to. But the rewards are shockingly, dizzyingly, you know, fantastic. So I can't bitch about much.
Michael, how do you feel in terms of going forward, where things are going? And are you hopeful?
Yes, I am. And, you know, we always said that we can't live without theater. And what lockdown proved is it's true. I mean, the Zoom things helped sustain us. But what really sustained us was just waiting, being patient, and knowing it was going to come back. Even I'm going back to the theater when they dropped that fucking mandate. And by the way, I would have boycotted the MJ show even if they didn't make me wear a mask. So some of these shows, you know, I dodged a bullet this season with a few shows. I miss it terribly, however, and everything's on the up, up, up. Of course, there were last year, I remember in May, we were all whoop-de-doo, things are hot again. And then it was like, nope, everybody go back home. That could always happen again. We're prepared now. We're like the Antrobus family in Skin of Our Teeth. We are the
That's a theater reference.
We're the dinosaurs surviving the crunch.
I mean, but Michael, you're in a theater or a club every night in real life. I mean, you were, right? I mean, you're.
Well, here's the irony: I can't go to theater because of the mask, but here I am in a nightclub being spun around like Ariana DeBose.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's wearing a mask or even a glove.
And speaking of which, since we had a clip earlier, let me just show this clip. And let's discuss this clip.
Where's my Tony Award?
Explanation, please. A little background, please.
Well, first, can we just say, talk about an Effie moment?
That was Jeff Goldblum in Musto the Musical. No, that was me at the Palladium sometime in the 80s, and it was a Las Vegas night.
Oh my!
So I did the Liza Minnelli version of My Way, which he actually never had done.
You took the blows.
I did.
Oh, well, he always has. Michael is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Do you still sing?
Can you find that?
For Joaquina Color Congo.
You sound great. You can sing.
You really are great.
You're a singer.
I'm ready. I am available.
Yeah.
I will play Tina Turner.
Non-mask events only for Michael.
Please. Yeah.
And so since we began with Anastasia, let's end with Anastasia. Anastasia, how do you feel about moving forward? I've been saying to people in this post-COVID world, but of course we're not in a post-COVID world, but life does move on. So how do you feel about it?
I'm excited. I'm a little terrified. Like I said, I'm going to be doing Mr. Holland's Opus in July and August and September. And I haven't.
Where?
At the Ogunquit Playhouse in Maine.
Oh my God, I'll drive up and see you.
Oh, you must. And I'm a little, frankly, I'm terrified because I haven't done any live performing, and it's been 2 years, 2+ years, so it's weird. I've done some television and I worked on a film, but it's going to be it's very different. I kind of wonder if I got to get back in shape again for it, but I'm very excited. I'm excited. When I think about it, I feel very happy. I'm terrified, but also really, really happy to be thinking about, wow, being in rehearsal and being on stage, and I have to learn sign language, and I'm going to get to sing, and all those things I'm going to get to do again. I'm very excited.
So wait a minute, you just brought up an interesting point. Can I ask you? So
yes.
During the pandemic, are you telling me you didn't sing or take
No, I sang. Of course I sang, but I didn't sing on
muscle,
stage.
I
didn't sing on a stage anywhere.
Right. But
You know?
you kept it going.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. You know, and I teach too. So when you teach, you're always singing also because you're singing with your students. And I taught all through on Zoom.
Wow. You taught online?
Yeah, taught online.
Oh, fantastic.
Well,
Yeah.
Anastasia, you have given us a perfect bookend because when you get to Ogunquit, you might want to open with "I've come home at last."
I will. Yeah.
Now that you're older and more mature.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm old enough for that part now.
That's right.
See, you're aging into good roles. Guys, thank you so much. This was so much fun. And Anastasia, thank you for joining us and being our virgin sacrifice.
I'm so happy
today.
to be a virgin again. It's been just a couple of years.
I love everybody on this screen. I really do. I love everybody on this screen.
You know what Richard said was
awesome.
interesting is that this was so interesting during the pandemic to start this and to really connect with people. And it really, I don't say it enough, but while people say, oh, it was so great that you were there to entertain us, it kind of saved me because it let me connect with people that I would normally see and couldn't. So I felt like it was a lifeline for me as well.
And we're
So
glad that
thank
you're
you.
still doing it. We're very glad you're still doing it. Thank you, Billy.
Well, you were one of my, again, everybody here with the exception of Anastasia, you guys, Richard was my very first guest.
By accident. I just happened to be home. Oh, wait, Billy, you and I saw each other. You and I saw each other at the first super spreader event in Miami just before COVID, right?
Okay, we were at an event in Miami at the task
Against
force.
our better judgment.
And everyone who knew us said, "Don't go because this thing is coming."
Germicide everywhere, like jars of lube everywhere.
And so we kept staying in the VIP section and away from people.
Had a higher end lube there.
Right.
Boy butter.
Guys,
it was lubier, Bruce. It was lubier.
Everybody,
that's when COVID shut everything down. It was days after that.
No, because I left because you wanted me to go up to New York to see The Inheritance before it closed, they closed those last performances anyway. So anyway, guys, I will stay on with you and we can keep talking, but we're going to end the show. Thank you all to my wonderful guests, Anastasia Barzee, Michael Musto, Caitlin Vilanch, and Richard J. Alexander. I am, of course, Billy Masters. I will be back. I might be back next week.
Michael, that song is the big takeaway from this show, Michael Musto.
Oh my God! Well, there were clips of Richard and Bruce that didn't make the cut today. But next time, guys, thank you.
Bruce
Thank
and
you all for
everybody.
watching.
All
Subscribe. Right. Click on the link to subscribe, and we'll see you later. As always, if we're here, we're live. Bye, guys.
Bye.